For those of you that are watching this in replay, we're starting with who I am and what my business does. My name is Susan Kabani, and you're joining the Power of the Pivot webinar. Ugenie, which is my company and started in 2016, is a private community platform for those brands or communities that want a more private and curated place to connect with their members. Essentially, it's a private Facebook or LinkedIn where you want to share important information about things that you're up to and allow peer-to-peer conversation and relationship building. If you'd like to talk to us about how Ugenie could help your business, head over to our website and schedule a call with me by setting up a demo. If you are a charity, non-for-profit, or any community-based organization that needs something to help connect the volunteers and connect people with the right resources, we are also giving Ugenie away for free right now. Let's get into why you're here and the power of the pivot. Now, I want to caveat this whole talk by saying that I appreciate that some businesses are going to be in different camps. Those that have the capacity to get through the next few months, and those that need revenue to survive. For those that need revenue, I know there's an urgency in pivoting their offering in some way to be able to serve customers and bring some money into the business. Some examples of what I've already seen have been online latte deliveries or food companies that are doing fully self-catered pods. These are just some of the ideas. Body Electronic Dance Studios is working with a video production company to stream their classes online. I think a lot of us have seen that many businesses have gone online in the current climate. However, I know that there's businesses where there just is no capacity to go online. So tonight we're going to look at how else can you pivot your business model? What else can you be already doing that might be able to serve a bigger need right now? So let's just jump into some of the basics of pivoting, and that includes what a pivot actually means. Now, before I started to work as an entrepreneur, when I saw the word pivot, I immediately thought of Friends and Ross. Pivot! Trying to get the sofa up the stairs was a failure before it began because he didn't take time to measure that it physically fit. When I started to work on my first startup business and used the pivot, I used the word pivot in a very different way in a business context. And I started to understand that pivot could be very different things for very different businesses. Now, again, a lot of us probably think about businesses only pivot when their current market is in no longer need by the market. Current product. So first and foremost, let's take a look at the definition of pivot. A pivot usually occurs when a company makes a fundamental change to their business after determining, usually through product market fit research, that their product isn't meeting the needs of their intended market. Now, companies will continue to pivot as their needs change or the company discovers new opportunities for the business. A pivot is usually intended to help a business recover from a tough period or survive after experiencing new competition or other factors that make the original business model unsustainable. So what does that actually mean? When pivoting in the startup world means shifting to a different strategy, it is often believed that you have to drastically change the whole company. But this isn't always the case. Sometimes, as a company, you have only one important thing that needs to be changed or addressed to be able to serve a current need in the market. So I'm going to go through some examples of what you can be looking at in terms of places in your business that could be pivoted during this time to serve an important or big need in the market right now. Turning one feature of the product into the product itself, resulting in a simple and more streamlined offering. There are a lot of platforms right now that are taking their booking systems and trying to convert those into a way to help local communities or businesses deliver food and much needed supplies to a very different audience. So could there be a part of your product that can be done? Shopify, for example, was something that founders built for their own business, the whole kind of marketplace. And when that particular business didn't take off, they then scaled it by selling the software to other businesses that needed an e-commerce platform. The opposite of the previous pivot is also considered a pivot. So in which one product is turned into a feature of a larger suite of features or bigger another product. Ugenie is kind of going through this right now. We were always the mobile plugin for a lot of brands' communities' needs. A lot of brands have websites, they've got they've got lots of tech that's web-based to help their communities connect. What they didn't have is a mobile app. Now, in the current environment, of course, we're all looking for web-based solutions. So Ugenie is expanding from just being mobile to being cross-platform. And then under 6 weeks, we're going to be offering a web-based solution as well to serve all of those people that are sitting at home right now, who are getting a little bit overwhelmed by Facebook and social media platforms, but still want to connect with their communities. Another way you can do it is by focusing on a different set of customers by positioning a company into a new market or vertical. So for example, we are also now applying for the Tech Force Challenge, which is done by the NHS, trying to solve some of their very crucial needs with organizational management, volunteer management, peer-to-peer communities for mental health. That is not our focus. Our tech was designed for membership organizations and people who have paid membership models. However, with a few tweaks, we can serve this large growing need and potentially really help something that is needed right now. Now, changing a platform for, let's say, an app to software or vice versa. So I think I've just covered that when I'm talking about how we're going from mobile to web. Also, you can employ a new revenue model to increase monetization. So for example, a company might find that an ad-based revenue model may be more profitable than freemium. I know revenue and pricing and charging right now is a big question I'm getting from lots and lots of different people. Can I charge right now? Can people afford me? And over all the different conversations I've had over the last week, some people are saying, you know what, I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to put it out there and see. I know people are in need, and hopefully at some point that will help my brand in the long run. And the companies that are in the position to do that are doing that. Now let's take the flip side, where you are dependent on your revenue for your salaries, your rents, your ongoing running costs. What I would do is I would take a look at your bottom line. What is the least amount that you can charge to try to make your numbers work for you? I mean, that might mean that you have to reduce your employee salaries. That might be that you have to streamline some of your tech. We're definitely cutting some of the licenses of products that we don't need, going back to doing some things old school, because we want to conserve as much cash flow in our business right now to do the things that are necessary. And for us right now, the necessary is expanding the tech. Using different technology to build a product, often to cut down manufacturing costs or create a more reliable product. Now, I would push that even forward and saying, what can you do manually that might not even require technology? What can you do that, and on the flip side, something that makes you more efficient? One of the other talks I've been doing this week is the power of networking online. And the one key tip in that, well, networking in general, is, are you tracking and keeping track of all the relationships you're creating, where they're going, so that you can follow up? Now, I used to use an Excel spreadsheet to keep, in the early days of my business before I learned how to use all these CRMs. And now I'm going into another software called Keep, where it's helping me do lots of other relationship management, email management, automation. So that's another time right now that if you can set up and look at your businesses. So while you look through all of these different parts of your business to see what you can pivot, you might also find inefficiencies that you can clean up during this time. So these are just a few examples of how you can pivot your business doing small things. Now, let's look at a couple of examples. I think I mentioned a few, but some of the biggest examples in the market today. YouTube started as a dating platform. So their byline, tune in, hook up, very different than what they are today. In fact, I think that I can use YouTube connected to Zoom and provide live streaming on Ugenie as the result of a conversation I had this week about doing some hacks inside the tech. We haven't been able to live stream yet, but I think within the next week, I'll be able to share with our clients and communities that they can now go live on Ugenie. Slack was a game that was focused on specialization and exploration, which of course today is a great tool for communications for small teams. I myself use it here at Ugenie to talk to all my developers. Groupon, which started out as a social platform where people could rally together behind social and charitable causes. And we all know today what that turned out to be. Now I have a love-hate relationship with Groupon, and that's the topic of another webinar. And I already mentioned Shopify earlier. This isn't to say that every pivot will work and be successful. There are examples of pivots that either didn't happen at the right time or that just didn't achieve what they set out to achieve. Flow Tab was a great idea in theory. It allowed bar patrons to order and pay for drinks quickly using their smartphones with a central tablet for managing their order. Unfortunately, neither bars nor patrons wanted to pay extra for the service. So although Flow Tab attempted to pivot to sell advertising to alcohol producers, it didn't work. When that failed, it tried another pivot, pitching to sports stadiums, but another competitor had already beaten them to the punch. So we're going to do a quick few minutes as well about how to pivot effectively. So, one, do it as soon as possible. Now, essentially, I think we all know that time is of the essence. Take your 2020 plan and throw it out the window, because whether things are going well for you or not, you might have an opportunity to leverage what's going on right now. A lot of innovation comes from downtrends in the market. And the 2008 crash, which actually is going to pale in comparison to this, has brought some of the most innovative technologies and businesses out there. Those that survived it are still thriving today. So the sooner you can pivot, the sooner that you can get something out there that works for the market, the better for your business. Now, you also want to do it which is still in line with the visions of your company, because I guarantee we will come out of this lockdown. We will come out of this phase at some stage. Everything that goes up comes down, and everything that goes down will come up. But you want to make sure whatever your pivot is still aligns with the core values of your business and your company. Ultimately, when we come out of this, you still want those customers that you've picked up now to want to work with you, and also those that potentially can't afford you right now but would love to work with you because of the work that you're doing right now, might come and join you later. So at the end of the day, though, we as startups really work hard on our businesses because we're passionate about what we do and we believe in what we do. So making sure that any pivots align with that vision is really important. Don't scrap the work you've already done. I'm sure that there's something in what you've already done that will work, whether that's pivoting the technology to a new market, whether it's taking a part of your product and services. And don't forget, you as a startup founder are a huge asset as well. At the moment, I'm giving away some of my time to the organizations that need it to help them get their digital strategy in order, because my know-how and how to do digital strategy and community building is also an asset to my business. Listen to your customers. Have you picked up the phone and called any existing customers? It's really important to talk to them right now to figure out what is it that they need. How can you help them? If you cut down some of your invoicing, if you gave them a break on that, would that mean that they don't leave? Is there a way for you to do deferred payments? Talking to our customers right now is really important. And as we might have some more time in pivoting the business model and really assessing our business model, talking to our customers to make those enhancements is also a really good thing we can be doing right now. Make sure your pivot presents opportunities for growth, right? So there's a lot of, you again might be in that position where you can spend more time on your product and your technology, but whatever you pivot has to really serve a market need right now. And you want to make sure that you're pivoting something that will also survive when the market changes. It might be something, if you're doing one feature, you can just turn on or off, but think about how your pivot is going to survive once this is all over. So now, if we talk about Ugenie very briefly, I will tell you some of the lessons that we learned. As I mentioned, Ugenie started out, today is a membership platform. It's like a private Facebook or LinkedIn. We started out as a task sharing platform. Our whole idea was to connect community members, which actually, ironically, today probably would have been super useful if community members could match on sharing resources and such as food and lawnmowers and whatever it might be in the context that you're in. We shifted to becoming that off-the-shelf mobile solution after 2 pivots. So essentially, our first pivot was we were a task sharing platform, as I mentioned, and we looked like this. It kind of looked like Tinder for tasks. And the idea for us at that time, when we went, my co-founder and I decided to build this, I said, well, how are we going to monetize this? Are we going to run into the same problem that a lot of big brands who get huge amounts of investment and then can't monetize it have to sell data? And that didn't set right with us. So we went from the idea of this task sharing platform that would connect community members on tasks or wishes to allowing also local businesses to advertise into the community, with a promoted, very clear post. I don't know how this business model would have evolved. I think today we probably would have taken away any sort of payment in the platform and kind of stripped it away to make it connect, the elderly that need resources, and changed all the hashtags. I'm sure we could have pivoted this as well to be really effective today. But ultimately, we went from B to C to B2B as our first shift, because we went down what you would call now the influencer model. So as we started doing our product market fit back in 2017, after we had built a MVP, minimal viable product, and for us that was a working prototype that didn't have any backend. It didn't work. It just showed you screens. A lot of people said we love the idea. It would save us time. It would save us money. There's a sustainability element in sharing resources, but we would only do this with people that we trust. And so we said, okay, well, what communities are those? Who do you trust? And they said, well, my nursery, my religious community, moms I already know in WhatsApp groups. And so all of a sudden, the idea of something that was more curated and tailored for existing communities came to light. And we made that huge shift, which meant that we actually had to launch an admin dashboard. An admin dashboard so that the community leader could share all the important things that they needed to send, right? So if you're a religious community, the schedule of services or your religious education, if you're a membership, when your trainings are, I mean, we support video and documents. So we had to create this tool, and this was all based on product market fit testing, because our first version of Ugenie did not have any sort of administrative function. It was very much B2C. Our beta version then we launched, and it looked a little bit like this. We launched it with our first set of paid customers in 2018, early 2018, and we started to test how that worked in this type of membership model with communities that had existing members. And ultimately, again, these are some various communities that we are working with. Our journey went from, 2019, we had 20 plus clients. We launched version 1, as I said, in 2018. And then we had our second shift. So in our alpha testing, we did quite a lot of social communities. We gave it to a few Facebook groups. We gave it to WhatsApp groups. We did give it to other groups where it was a social kind of, just peer-to-peers coming together. And, a lot of people ask us, well, why can't we just do what you do on Facebook? Why can't we do it on LinkedIn, WhatsApp, etc.? And all of those platforms have a place in digital strategy for business and for our personal lives. I mean, I love WhatsApp for my, personal things. And I'm in a couple of startup WhatsApp groups that are really helpful, but I can also feel very overwhelmed with WhatsApp. Same thing with Facebook and LinkedIn. And so what we decided was that for this next phase of our business, we would actually focus on brands where the community members or the users or the employees, because we also work with businesses to engage with their employees, needed to get information quickly and efficiently. So, if you are in a Facebook group, you may not necessarily need that information. You can go back to it, or you can hope the algorithm shows you what you actually find valuable. But whereas if you want to see a schedule of events for something you're paying for, it becomes super important. So I'm going to move on to the rest of it. If you have any more questions about Ugenie, please get in touch. But my final kind of thoughts on pivoting or perishing. Now, this talk I've actually done before the crisis. I actually put it together last year for a corporate talk that I did. And some of the things that I had talked about in terms of basic tips were follow the wins. So even as you start to pivot right now, see what's winning, and those cycles become very short. You want to look all the time to see what is it that is working, and whatever isn't, quickly cut your losses. So instead of doing a month cycle, 6-week cycle, 3-week cycle, you might be doing daily cycles. Throw out your ego. It's not about what we think works. It's about being objective. And I think some of you might say, well, Susan, you're trying to compete with Facebook. And I'm really not. For me, it's about the privacy of the data democracy, and curated communities. But actually, I do take on board that, we have to do at least as much as Facebook in order for our solution to have a chance. We want to follow the money. And at the moment, I know I've talked about revenue and how you can tweak your revenue model to give your customers or potential customers an affordable option. But definitely try to follow the money, especially those of you that need it. And again, talk to your clients. If you already have existing clients, build a plan that's going to solve their pain points by observing their behavior. And some of this might be just observation you can make in the market at the moment. So, the big C word, COVID, this is really changing what we can do right now. It is making us look at our business models in a very different way, making our technology look in a very different way. If I can leave you with just a couple of tips and things that people are doing that you can look at right now are cash flow, suppliers, staff, and funding. So how can we look at cash flow? Again, going back to the bare minimum that you can charge to make your business work, and not be going under. From a supplier point of view, reach out to your suppliers, including your landlords, anybody that you owe invoices to. Talk to them before invoices are due, to come up with some sort of relationships. I've heard some amazing things that landlords and things are doing for commercial premises. We just gave one of our clients a deferred payment option. So it's about thinking, what can we do to help our customers also get through this time? From a staff perspective, I think this is the hardest thing at the moment, because to a certain extent, I know that our staffs rely on our paying them for, their income, et cetera. And when you're an early stage startup, your staff is like your family. So one of the suggestions could be that everyone takes a cut, including the management. Rather than cutting people, can we all just take less at the moment? Can you give equity and share options so that everybody feels like they're going through this together? And if you get through it, the company will be stronger. Fundraising is difficult, I think, at the moment. We've paused our fundraise. At the same time, there might be opportunities for certain businesses to get funding. We did a webinar last night. Well, we had a pitch night, our first virtual pitch night last night, and we had some great tips from the VC investors. And so I have a video on that, which I'm going to share. Please reach out if you'd like to hear what they had to say. But if I were to summarize, protect your cash at the moment as much as you can. The investors that are investing are probably the more conviction-based investors. If you can make it through the next 12 months, there will be a lot more opportunity as well. I hate to sound doom and gloom and say 12 months, because there are ways to do, I know some of you are saying, what am I going to do next month? So, reach out to me. I can share that video with you. I can connect you with some people who are trying to find out how some startups are going to get through. Finally, just connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. My email is susan@ugenie.io if you have any further questions. And, just set up a time to chat with me if you're just worried about what you might be able to do with your business model. A lot of what we do in digital strategy is looking at business vision and objectives. And, digital strategy really means business strategy. So happy to give anybody time to help figure out if there's anything that they can do, or connect you with other businesses. I did this webinar last week for an incubator accelerator, and there were people coming together to try to offer their products and services as packages. There were two products, food products, and they were going to try to find a delivery service to kind of package all that up. So I think I'll leave you on one final note. Collaboration is key. Community is key. How can we work together and survive this? Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you guys are well, and speak to you soon.